So in this video, I'm going to go through just more examples of using the Gauss-Jordan method with solving systems. So I'm assuming that you know the method and you just wanted to see it a few more times. If you have no idea what the method is, then I highly recommend you check out some of my lesson videos before you watch this, because I'm going to kind of plow through these assuming you understand. So, and these are the three examples I'm going to go through. So anything's possible with the solution sets. So we'll just jump right into it. If there's one you want to see, you can fast forward to it. All right, so starting with the first example, and sorry, you might hear my dog. She's protecting the house. Okay, so the first one, of course, the first thing you've always got to do is set up the augmented matrix. So let's go ahead and do that. Got all this set up. Okay, cool. All right, so the thing using Gauss-Jordan is that we know that we want to get R1 right here, get the zeros in the column, and then move to the next column over, get the next one, get the next zeros. So in this case, we already have the one, so that's cool. So now I just got to worry about getting my zeros. So I want this to be a 0, so what I need to do is I need to add -2 to it. So the vehicle that we use to do that is I leave row 2 alone, I take row 1, I multiply it by -2, and I add it to that row. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the first row. And so now this will be 0, -9, 3, and -9. The last row is not going to change. All right, and I always recommend that you take a moment to double check your calculations. As you've been practicing this, you've probably learned it's pretty easy to make a mistake. So the key to this is to be really detail oriented and to just double check your work. So I'm going to double check mine. Okay, I just double checked, so I still got the same numbers, so we're good to go. So let's make some space. Okay, so got my first 0, so we got to keep going. We got to get a 0 here. So I need to take row 3 and I need to multiply -3 by row 1. So I'm going to leave these rows alone. In the last row, this will be a 0, -10, 6, and -9. So I'm going to just take a second to double check my work. And everything worked out, so we're good to go. Okay, so I've got my 1, I've got my zeros, so now I move down the diagonal. So the only way, so after you get the first one, then really the only way you should be getting the next one is by multiplication or division. So we're going to have some fractions, so I'm going to divide this row by -9. All right, so the first column doesn't change. Let's see, the first row is not going to change. And the last row, the middle row will become 1, -1/3, and 1. So I've got a fraction in there, but it's okay. Okay, so now I got my 1. Now I've got to get zeros here and here. So we'll start here. So let me clear some space. Okay, and now I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to multiply row 2 by -4 so I can get that 0, so that this becomes a 0 right here. Okay, so let's see. Let me just write the middle row and the last row. Sometimes I like to write those out since they're not going to change. This is still a 1. This is a 0. This will be +1/3 and 2. Okay, and then working on this row. So now I'm going to take row 3 and then multiply row 2 by 10. So again, I'm focusing on getting a 0 here, so I need to add +10 to it. So I need to multiply the middle row where the 1 is by 10. Okay, so let's see, this column's not going to change. The first row is not going to change. Middle row is not going to change. This becomes a 0. This becomes 8/3. And this will be 1 Okay. All right, so I got my 1, I got my zeros. So now I'm moving on here. So I need this to be a 1, moving down the diagonal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take R3 and I'm going to multiply it by 3/8. So let's clear some space. Okay, so these columns are not going to change. This row is not going to change. This row is not going to change. This becomes a 1. This becomes 3/8. All right, we're in the home stretch. So now I want these to become zeros. So let's see, I'll just start here. It doesn't really matter where you start. So I've got row 2, and I'm going to multiply row 3 by 1/3. So the first row is not going to change. The second row becomes 9/8. The last row is not changing. And now finally I need to take row 1 plus -1/3 row 3. So I need to add -1/3 to this. So I got to use this row to do that. So I'll clear some space. All right. So I've got 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. This is now 0, 0, 1. And then this becomes 15/8. Okay. So now we can interpret the solutions. Remember, this is the x, y, z, and equals column. So my solution is x equals 15/8. Y equals 9/8, z equals 3/8, or you can put that as an ordered pair, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so moving on to B here. So we have another three equations. So let's go ahead and set up the augmented matrix. So I'm going to have 2, 4, 1, 1, 2, -1, 3, -3, -6, 1, and zeros. Now I highly recommend that you pause the video and give this a try. So if you're watching this because you were struggling, you will get 10 times more out of this if you actually try it versus if you just watch me do it. So just a word of caution there. All right, so I'm going to jump into this. So I need to get my 1, so I can pretty easily do that by flipping these rows. So I'll make some space. Okay, so I have 1, -1, 1, 0, and then the middle row doesn't change. The last row will change. Okay, so now I got my 1s, so I gotta get my zeros. So I'm gonna work on getting a 0 here. So this is gonna be row 2 plus -4 times row 1. So let's see, 1, -1, 1, 0. This is 0, 6, -10, and 0. Last row does not change. Let's make some space. Okay, so now I need to get, this is a 0. So I'm going to take row 3 plus -2 times row 1. Top row is not going to change. Middle row also not going to change. This is going to be a 0. This will be a 3. -5 and 0. Okay, moving on down the line. So I've got my 1, I got my zeros. So next I'm going to move down the line. So this needs to be a 1. So the best way to do that is to just multiply or divide. So I'm going to take row 2 and divide it by 6. So 1, 0, 0. Top row is not going to change. This will be a 1. Okay, so dividing by 6, this will become -5/3 and 0, 3, 0. Okay, cool. So now I've got my 1 here, so I need to get a 0 here and here. Doesn't matter the order that you want to do that in. I'll go ahead and just get a 0 here. So thankfully that's going to be simple. I just have to take row 1 and add row 2 to it, so I'll make some space. Okay, so row 1 is going to now be 1, 0, negative 2/3, and 0. So just remember, I like to leave everything in terms of fractions. It's more exact. So I know people, sometimes they don't like fractions, but it's better to leave it exact. Okay, so now I need to get a 0 here. So I'm going to take row 3 plus negative 3 times row 2. So top row is not going to change. Middle row is not going to change. Last row, I'm going to get a 0 here. I'm going to get a 0 here, and then I'm going to get a 0 here. And so now we go, oh, we got zeros, so that means we have infinite solutions. But because we've gotten this into the row reduced echelon form or the diagonal form, so this will now, we can now interpret our solution. So let's make a little space and do that. Okay, so this is the x, y, z, and equals column. So since I can see that I have infinite solutions, remember we always start with the last variable is just going to be equal to itself. And now I want to write the other two variables in terms of that variable. So this is going to say x minus 2/3 z equals 0. And the next line is y minus 5/3 z equals 0. So all I have to do now is solve these for x and y, which thankfully is not too hard. So this will be x equals 2/3 z, and this one will be y equals 5/3 z. And you can put that into an ordered pair if you wish. There you go. Okay, and this last one, so you can tell just by looking at it, you know it's going to have infinite solutions, right? Because we've got more variables than equations. So once again, I highly recommend that you try this on your own. Even if you're getting stuck along the way, at least knowing where you're getting stuck and then knowing what to do after that, that is how you make progress. Sometimes you don't get it perfect. Sometimes you have to just make slow bits of progress to fully understand something, but you'll never make progress if you don't make attempts. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up my augmented matrix. And thankfully I have a 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is just flip my first 2 rows, my only 2 rows. Okay. And now you guys should know the drill. So now I need to get a 0 here. So to do that, I'm going to take row 3 plus negative 3 times row 1. So we'll make some space. Okay, so the top row is not going to change. Bottom row, this will be a 0. This will be negative 14, 4, and negative 18. Okay, so now got my 1s and 0s, so move down the diagonal. I got to get a 1 here, so I can only do that by multiplying or dividing. So I'm just going to divide the row by negative 14. So the top row I can leave alone. Bottom row becomes 1. Let's see, that becomes negative 2/7 if I reduce the fraction, and then positive 9/7 as a reduced fraction. 18/14 becomes 9/7. Okay, so we're in the home stretch. So now I need this to be a 0, so I'm going to take row 1 plus negative 4 times row 2, so I'll clear some space. So I get 1, 0, 0, 1. This will be 1/7, and this will be 41/7. Okay, and now it's party time. So we got everything we need. This is as far as I can go. I've got diagonals and zeros and all that good stuff. So now I just interpret. So this is x, this is y, this is z, and this is equals. So remember, since this is infinite solutions, I'll start with z equals z. Then I've got x plus 1/7 z equals 41/7. And the other line says y minus 2/7 z equals 9 over 7. So if I solve each of these, so if I solve for x, this becomes 41 over 7 minus 1 over 7z. And the other one will be 9 over 7 plus 2 over 7z. And you can put that in an ordered pair if you wish, but that is the structure. And okay, so that brings us to the end of this video. So hopefully a couple more examples were helpful to you. And I will catch you guys in another video. Thanks for watching.